addition to those minutes? If not, is somebody happy to propose that we accept the minutes? Right, Val proposed, you weren't here. Who was here? In fact, it's only the two of us, it's just me and you. So if you propose them, I second them, we're all happy to accept that. We are, thank you very much indeed. If I can borrow one of your pens, thank you very much. Then I will sign those off and then we can move on to the next agenda. Are we still not live?
No, we are now.
We are now. Yeah. Oh, well, welcome listeners and viewers. Sorry for the delay. You haven't really missed very much. I'm just signing off the minutes, which I have done. Jamie's wife will probably be watching us, I'm quite sure.
Not, nobody
She's
on.
not? No, oh dear, oh dear. Rob, your pen back.
Thank you.
She probably tried to log on at 6 o'clock and was dismayed not to find us. Right, okay, so the next item is reports. The first of which is to receive the Properties and Open Spaces report. This is the I&E for that income and expenditure. Are we happy to have received that? Anybody like to comment on that at all? If not, I'll move on to the next agenda item, which is to receive the monthly payments. An open spaces report, again, this has been circulated in advance. And obviously we will come back and refer to that with future agenda items. I do want to say something about this at the end, in fact, when we come on to AOB. And in which case we can then go on to the third of the reports, to receive and discuss 3 to 5 year maintenance annual report. Again, we talked about actually having that circulated. We very often just pass over it. It's a document which is updated almost on a continual basis. And I'd just like us to spend some time just having a look at that, since we're towards the end of the financial year. Partly just to see there are things on that which we need to take account of. The first thing is, to a certain extent, it's not always an easy document, I don't think, to follow. And again, I might say something about this under any other business. But what you can see there is a schedule of work that will be done through April onwards through to the end of the year. So, for example, what it's telling you is that there will be pat checks clearly in Fletton House, QVH, and the courthouse in terms of the rec ground, first mow, etc. So I'd just like us to just spend a little time looking at that and really give the opportunity for committee members to ask questions in relation to it. In a sense, of course, what it does is that it blends with the Open Spaces report, although, and again, this is one of the issues I want to discuss on the AOB. I think sometimes it's confusing whether or not this is a plan or the Open Spaces report is a plan, and what we actually use to plan moving forward. But anyway, I just thought I'd pause and Rob, you've got your hand up.
because I think I know where you're going to head with the AOB item. As I suspect it's the confusion between the various documents.
Yeah.
And when I look through, I see there's the agenda for the meeting, there's this, then there's the 3 reports. And I look at this maintenance plan, I think there must be more than pattern testing going on in April.
Well, quite, yeah.
So I'm trying to piece it together, and I don't get the overall view of what the estates programme looks like through the year. I know that was commented on at the full council meeting, which is quite confusing to then look back and get an overall view.
Noted, and I think, you're probably not alone. I mean, clearly there is a workflow here, but I think it also doesn't capture, many things that are clearly going on. Partly because, they're sometimes very small things. So, for example, I don't know whether you were party to it, but there was an email exchange earlier this morning, literally about somebody making sure the blinds in QVH, were pulled. And obviously, those things are never going to be on here, but they're clearly part of the workflow. This is trying to identify things which are either done routinely over the course of the year, for example, like the PAT tests and the checking the window paint, or, there are various things to do with, inspections that need to be carried out, etc., etc. So this is not so much about what you might call the odd things that crop up that we have to fit in. These are things that are going to have to be carried out over the course of the year. And as you rightly say, I think sometimes the issue is understanding this alongside the open spaces report. Anyway, I'm kind of conscious that we should stick to the agenda. As I say, I do want to just raise a couple of suggestions under AOB as to how we might move forward on this and get Lisa's reaction.
Explain quickly why these 2 reports, and I feel the same. I don't like them. I don't think they correlate. I find them confusing sometimes when I'm reading them. This monthly properties and open spaces report used to be quite a short report, but then the then chair of estates basically felt there wasn't enough information on it, and he wanted an update each month with what we identified needed doing, and he to what was achieved last month, what we're doing this month. So then this report went from like a 2-page document to what is now a 5-page document. This one they've been working on for years, haven't they? And it kept getting put off because nobody had the time to actually work on this longer view maintenance. I think Ian did most of the work on this. So these 2 documents, 2 separate documents that were agreed on by separate people,
and
it's never seemed to...
And that's my point. I'm trying to get on to my own... We'll talk about it under AOB if it's not properly on the agenda, but that is exactly my concern. There are 2 documents that have been created at different times for different reasons. I think we need to crawl back and actually try and understand and try and bring these things slightly closer together, primarily to help you and primarily help all of the members of this committee in really understanding what the priorities are and how we set those priorities moving forward. But we kind of ventured into that discussion now. I'm going to, if it's all right, people park it. We'll come back to it. I'm going to make a concrete suggestion under AOB. Okay. I've lost entirely where I am now. So we've just done that. So the next agenda item is EN 24253 Fletton House, where again it says see update report, which is partly one of the issues. And if we look at Fletton House, we will see considerations this month. The change of rooms, that's presumably happening now with the volunteer action.
All Emma wanted you to decide really is if you look at the map on there, we're in the end one, Amble Suite. Currently VA have got those 2 offices opposite each other, and they're basically surrendering this office, but in favour of this bigger office. Now, basically, Emma just said that we really need to get feedback from you as to whether you want to increase their rent because it's a bigger room. I looked and it's lumped together. They pay 3,600 for both of the rooms together. So it would mean sort of splitting them and thinking what we would charge for, because they're essentially now going to have rooms that are pretty much the same size.
Yeah.
Sorry, can I just clarify, they're going to then take two rooms still?
Yes, so they're giving up a smaller one, because it's too small.
Sorry, I thought they were getting rid of those two, and they're just.
No, so then we do get the use of this nearest office to us again, but it is a slightly smaller office, but we still obviously will be able to rent it out. But Emma's just asked if you will consider what you want to do, whether you want to put their rental costs up or keep them as they are.
Do we have an idea of what we previously would have rented 5 out at?
It's £10 an hour, but it's quite an underused room. It's not a massively used room in comparison to.
But we've never rented it out
Not
to one person
entirely,
for a year or whatever
No.
previously. So it's only an hourly rent, and that clearly doesn't translate into what we would pay for an annual.
It's not a really well-used room.
And in terms of, sorry, if you could just go back and remind us, so they were previously paying
3,600 for both rooms together.
And has there been a change in rent? How long was that?
I've not seen an increase in rent well, I think the last time we spoke about it seriously was just before or just after COVID hit, and the general opinion was because of the economy and the way things were going, they didn't want to increase them.
But as a council, our costs have gone up because of the heating and
clearly,
everything else. So,
I mean, that was my next question. When was the 3,600 set? Do we know?
Quite some time ago.
2020.
10 years.
Well, the existing lease, was 2020.
Right, stayed in 2020, so that's already 5 years.
The lease is for a term of 5 years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
It was set a bit low when they moved in because we had no choice.
right,
We
okay.
had to come
Explain. Yeah.
because we were in the courthouse
Yeah,
beforehand.
yeah, we were, yes, yeah.
Volunteer action.
And volunteer action were there too.
Yeah. And so it was considered that we were forced to move, we spent money and got
Yeah,
our offices and everything, and then suddenly
yeah,
we had to move. So that was, if you like, the reasoning behind the setting of the slightly slower end. And then we had COVID, of course.
which, changed things.
Changed things.
So
Adding
So Rob, Rob, please.
So if the lease is dated 23rd of December 2020, does the 5 years take them to December this year? And therefore it would be a new lease after,
No, I'm not sure. I think it,
because they're still within their 5 years, aren't they?
according to that.
I don't understand the,
They will do at the end of this year,
Are they not having their lease? They're having a new
but they're
lease
having a new
now.
lease anyway because of the change of room.
So it's considered a termination,
yeah.
okay,
So this will effectively be terminated early.
right, okay.
So they're paying, what, £70, about £70 a week for work around 52 weeks.
Sorry, one further question. The new room is clearly bigger than the old room. So this rent of 3,600 for the 2 rooms, it's not broken down into room A and room B, is it? It's just because, the reason I asked is because I think it's room 5 looks similar to the other room that they're in.
Yeah, it
in terms of size.
Yes, it is.
So that doesn't help us as a guide. I'm just going to stick my neck out. I think we should increase the rent, A, because Their lease would have been up at the end of this year anyway, and B, it's a larger room. Presumably, we're not making a decision, we're only making a recommendation to full council. I'm prepared to start the bidding at 4,000. It's going to get, whatever we say, it's going to get discussed by full council anyway, precisely. So it's almost irrelevant what we say to a certain
Yeah, that would
extent.
go to, sorry, I'm doing the maths, so £77 a week.
For the two.
So it's just £10 extra.
Yeah.
No, for the one, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, looking. Yeah, so that will be joined together if they were increasing. Doesn't matter.
But it will be discussed again at full council anyway,
Yeah.
so to a certain extent, this discussion is a little bit meaningless.
I suppose we all should look at what we rent the other rooms out for, in the building.
Well, the chance we don't have a like for like for this, because that's the whole point, other rooms are rented out on an hourly basis.
Yeah. And very few of the rooms apart from the are taken over, well, when we have preschool by somebody continuously, yeah.
But as a,
Sorry.
but as an estate, I know we consider Fletton House distinct from the courthouse. We're imagining this just being a unit in the estate. It seems very low. It doesn't seem on par. I know it's volunteer action, a separate organisation, but I just think it might be worth understanding
Yeah, that's a good
a
point.
reasonable amount for a rental unit. Which
Yes, I mean, we're clearly not charging a commercial rent, otherwise, maybe the discussion would be rather different. And I think all councillors are aware of that, partly because of the sheer value that VA give to the community. And we want to, acknowledge that in terms of giving them what we think is a fair rent and an affordable rent. But at the same time, I think we do have to reflect the fact that they've not had a price increase for 5 years,
You get a grant.
and it's slightly bigger.
Do
Sorry,
they get a grant from us too?
they also get a grant from us as well.
Consider we're supporting them on that front. I think Rob's, sorry to interrupt, but I think you've got a good point. It would be interesting to see what the courthouse rents are.
They're incredibly low as well.
Yeah, but to compare roughly size-wise what they're paying, and then obviously we may undercut that, but that gives us a good base, doesn't it?
Although, again, we've had a discussion before in this committee that we're not charging what we should be charging in the courthouse either.
it's not a good benchmark. But anyway,
You
considering
can't compare the rooms, really.
No,
But I can't
the quality of the
complain.
room here is much nicer. And the other thing to point out, I can't read all of that there. They're not paying anything in terms of heating or electricity, are they?
I think it probably says,
Because we have no way of metering it, do we?
no, I
See,
think
that's all included in the price.
I think it will say something similar to what we do to the courthouse
Yeah, yeah.
tenants, that it
Yeah, yeah.
says reasonable usage of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
utilities is included.
I assume that would be the case. I mean, so I just wanted to draw to people's attention that this does include the heating and powering of the room as well.
just one further point.
Yeah.
If we were to increase the rent, would volunteer action just request an increased grant and therefore becomes a
Well, I was going to say, the
just a
conundrum, shall we say, that they might then try and pass that cost on back to us, but the trouble is they also go to different committees. They'll go to finance committee first, and then finance will effectively make a decision that's then rubber stamped by full council. So,
And it does take two of the slightly larger meeting rooms out of action permanently, because other people can't use them when it's not
No.
there in the morning and somebody else can rent it again.
but I think as Lisa pointed out, it's not as though we rent that other room, room 5, the new room they're taking over.
No, but then
It's
if
not
we
as though
advertise.
there's not a huge demand for that.
Yeah.
room.
It's a meeting room that takes 20 people in a meeting format. And the one that they'll be giving up, you probably only fit 5, maybe 10 people in there. So you are halving basically how many people you would fit in there. But having said that, the demand for the smaller cost stock room for clerical rooms is higher. So it could be that we end up renting that down more. It's one of those unknown quantities, really.
I'd like to move the meeting on. As I said, we'll have another crack at this anyway under full council. We're not making a decision on this, we're purely making a recommendation.
Shall I just put then that you recommend?
So I would like to propose 4,000. Do I have a seconder for that?
I kind of think we should be higher than that, personally.
Well,
A little bit more.
well, okay, in which case then let's go for 425.
Excellent. 4-2, let's settle on.
And then full council can back us back down. Okay?
Yeah.
Right, so I think Val's seconding that, or Liz, either of them. You choose, Lisa.
I'd rather not.
You'd rather
I
not,
need to
sorry.
remain a little bit away from it because.
Oh, okay, right, no, that's fine.
You know,
So Liz is seconding it.
Yeah.
All those in favour, you can abstain if you wish. No, okay, right, okay, well, let's move on. Very important business there, but we'll come back to the full council at some stage, no doubt. Possibly under the new council, who knows, but probably not. Maintenance, gosh, this seems to be, again, something that it's like a storm going around in a valley when it comes to the gates. So, workshop, consider designs and quotes to new gates. We have backwards and forwards on this one.
Because he came back with a different price.
And that's, so where are we now on the quotes on this one, please,
You
Lisa?
closed in that you wanted, and that because of the neighbour as well saying they don't really want to see the, I just had it and I've lost it again now.
So open,
Yeah, it must be somewhere down there, isn't it?
So there is again, we've got so many different bits and pieces in this folder.
So this is the one you should be concentrating on. So you all liked the idea of the boarded in stuff so that you can't see what's behind the gate. So this is his final quote. So all I'm.
So this is the one that we were waiting for beforehand.
Yeah, so it's 10,375, which Aaron and I thought was.
And this is why it
expensive.
didn't proceed at last full council, because we hadn't had that quote.
Yeah.
So it was just simply so
So that's still your
realistic.
preference. That's all I need.
Yeah, can you just show us the picture?
that is the wooden one.
It's a kind of woodeny one,
Yeah, it looks
which doesn't look,
better than, I know, but it's,
yeah. Picture,
is it
please.
electric for that cost?
Yes. So,
No, that one's going to be a.
Okay, well, that's probably better really than electric, it's bound to go wrong.
This is not the wrought iron gate.
No, this is the one
It's the one
that,
that, yeah, wooden.
No,
yeah, it looks like a cattle gate, but it's wood.
Yeah, it's not the most attractive of gates, but it has to be pragmatic.
It's slightly less than one of the others.
Yeah,
there's a folder, isn't there? So let me see if I can.
Waterfall.
Yeah, it's not letting me open the pictures though. I understand it.
I'll do that. Gonna lose one.
Bringing up the email body, but it's not letting me open.
it's not quite that one,
That's it, sorry.
Yes, that's,
That's-
yeah.
but it's kind of equivalent to that. It's, as I say, it's not quite that because it's got other bits. And again, just to remind people is that the recommendation is that to not have a gate that people can see through. So, this has, as I say, been on the agenda of this committee for probably about 5 months now. And I'm hoping that we can now sign it off and make this recommendation to full council. Essentially, this is the quote that full council were waiting for. I'm quite sure when it goes to full council, it'll get unpicked yet again. Let's at least go to full council with a clear recommendation and we can explain why.
Do we,
So we're happy with that,
do we have
Liz?
the money in the pot for this?
Money, who cares? No,
Okay.
we care very great. It's within the kind of budget that we were talking about.
And it was agreed a while ago,
Yeah.
that drawdown was happening.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
So it's within that kind of envelope.
Just on the checks.
Okay.
All right. So I'll propose that it goes to full council. Val's seconding it, all in favour? Put your hand up, thank you, Liz. Okay, good. So, gosh, vehicles, see a report update from the town clerk. And demo of electric vehicle to take place after Nobby is back from annual leave. Second, third week of April. So realistically, there's nothing for us to talk about there. And also equipment, same thing. Update is demo to be arranged with Fenton's when Nobby is back from annual leave. So again, that will hit us at a future meeting. Right, in which case then let's move on to the hub, nothing to report. On to the next one, which is 256, the courthouse. And again, we referred back to the open spaces report. So I've got too many pieces of paper. It's open spaces report, courthouse. Considerations this month, there are none. Future ongoings, roof surveys sent to contractor for quotes, other works identified in surveys ongoing. Where are we with these roof surveys? Because as you know, I'm trying to compile a list of what the courthouse may cost us.
The last time the chap was over this way, I was on annual leave, so I've just got to make an appointment. He wants to meet me down on site, so at some point I've got to make an appointment. I've got obviously for the courthouse, the drone pictures, which he's got already, but I think he still wants to meet down on site. I'm not really sure why, because he has to go up on the roof. I don't think it's that helpful from the ground, but maybe it is for him. So yeah, I just need to meet with him. Obviously we have no budget for it anyway at the moment, so yeah. And obviously the surveyor that looked at it said there's no major issues that need dealing with immediately, so I'm not rushing the job.
So basically just notify us when you've got those quotes in, so we can then decide.
We were kind of concentrating on collecting.
Well, I know we were, and we've got obviously approval to move forward with that now, as of the last full council. So at least that's something.
Yeah.
Rob, sorry.
Point about the courthouse. I was going to raise an AOB, but I think I'll raise it now.
Yeah.
That's okay. I was approached by the owner of Courthouse Barbers.
Oh, right, yeah.
Regarding the ventilation in their unit. So in summer it gets stiflingly hot, and they're having mold issues now, damp issues because of that. He was asking me about possible ventilation solutions for both their unit and the dog parlour next door. I know we corresponded a bit about that. Just wanted to understand if that's been raised before as part of the courthouse maintenance project. Yeah. It sounds like it's going to start costing money if it's left to get worse.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring on the agenda and understand if that's been discussed before.
It has been discussed before. The issue that we've got is the nature of their business is water and heat, which causes moisture, and certainly, I can't remember with the barbers, but certainly the dog groomers have this problem quite a lot. They've got an apex that's quite high up, and it's an external wall that's not insulated in any kind of way. So as soon as this hot air hits that cold spot there, that's where she gets the damp and mold issues. We had it already pointed, we had somebody up there to look and see if there was a leak, which there wasn't, and they basically just said it's because of the lack of ventilation in there. We also got Sadler's in to look at putting a vent in, an extractor vent, but that was problematic as well, because he basically just said you're limited where you can put it. You really need it up high where the problem is because of the thickness of the walls, and there was just basically lots of issues, and also we were advised that it possibly wouldn't solve the problem. I think the courthouse group, barbers has experienced the problem because they had a new door, so there's not so many drafts, I think, as well now, which
so it's also important to create.
drafts, but they do create airflow, so.
I'm about to say, do they have windows they open? Because this is the problem, you
Yeah.
seal the box and that's what happens.
Yes,
That's why these old buildings need ventilation.
So it is something with the groomers, the dog groomers, what we've just been doing is going and cleaning it regularly for her, treating it with, I don't really call it mould paint, I don't really know what you call it, and then redecorating it for her. We've been probably doing it twice a year. Summer it's not an issue because they have their doors open, so ventilation, but we're not really quite sure. I suppose we could look into actually putting some insulated plasterboard inside, which would.
I mean, the problem is it's an old building.
It is,
So it needs
yeah.
to breathe. So if you then layer another layer,
Yes.
it's going to create another problem.
Yeah.
Really, if the building is not suitable for that kind of
I was
business,
gonna say,
I agree with that.
Precisely,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think if it's costing us all that money twice a year to go and redecorate, then you open a window.
Yeah.
During the winter, like lots of us,
Yeah,
and you made me think, you know, it's not the best location.
yeah,
Property.
and it's not our job to maintain that for those businesses who are not paying an economic rate.
Mm.
I don't think so. Just to remind people, I'm producing a report on the courthouse once I've got all of the information together, and we will have a separate meeting to discuss that. So it's been long delayed, but I will work on it over the Easter period.
So I was going to, because we obviously had a meeting, didn't we? We had a working group on that.
Well, that's the whole point. The working group is essentially now me pulling it together and then
Yeah,
we'll have a
okay, so I
report.
wasn't sure whether.
No, you haven't missed anything.
No, I just didn't know.
All you've missed is my inability to find the time to do it.
I've been busy. So it's an interesting one about the bars and the courthouse.
It's a conundrum, isn't it? Because, as
Yeah,
you said, if the rent isn't high enough to justify the increased costs to allow a business to operate in an old building, it becomes a bit of a cyclical.
I mean, they can have a dehumidifier in it, and that's what.
Well, I suggested that, I
But
said
they-
they buy it,
yeah.
But they need to get a really good one, and then I
Yeah.
think they.
But the solution is within their own hands, and that is that they
But the
buy.
problem is if they're not paying extra electricity, and then that's on 24/7.
I know. Then we end up paying for that
and
cost as well.
they do pull some electricity, they work, but
Yeah,
they do
yeah,
pull some
yeah.
electricity. I think that's the thing, I think the issue is, some people want to pay a pittance, but they want a palace, and I sometimes say to them, look, you know, we work to a budget, and it's quite a tight budget, but it doesn't seem to wear with people. It's like, well, that's what they want, and they want it. I mean, with the heater, the heating in one of the units, the person didn't like the style of radiator that we were prepared to pay for. And I said, well, we're prepared to pay that, that's what we will pay. If you want something better, you will have to pay whatever the extra is. And in the end, they did agree to it. But, you know, it's like, why would we have a perfectly functioning £300 electric radiator, and just because you want a £900 one, why would we agree to that? I said, if you want that, you can have it, but, you know, you have to pay for it. So, but that's the thing, that's what you're dealing with.
Well, with the weather being a bit better, hopefully they need to open the windows, you know, maybe be a bit cold when they're working, and then the summer it will dry out. Perhaps by then the report, like, we can include that bit in the report.
We will see.
I think we've been seen, from what I've just heard, to have tried very hard to put this problem right. It's the case of an unsuitable activity, or two unsuitable activities taking place in a building that can't cope.
Accommodate.
With the best will in the world throwing more money at it, it's not really going to kill the problem.
And with an old building, you're always going to have damp issues because of those big stone walls and things like that. You're always going to have something that's not quite right.
Yeah.
That's what you accept when you buy an old house. You know that's going to be a situation.
Okay, we've heard the concern. I think we've discussed it. I don't think we're going to resolve that at this stage. So we are now on to car parks and car parking again. We are referred to the update report. Considerations for this month, there aren't any. This is drill hall. Future ongoing considerations as above in red. Well, that's the line painting. We have a very old quote. Do we have any update on
No,
that?
the only thing that's come in, just after I published the agenda was the architect that did those old plans that I showed you of the drill configuration. I contacted him. It did take a bit of time getting back to me, but he sent this as his quote, what he would be willing to look at a reconfiguration of the spaces for us. So it didn't come in time for me to for you to approve it, unfortunately.
So that's basically him just coming up with a new layout, essentially.
Yeah, basically based possibly on the ones that I showed you before.
Can I just jump in? If there's a company that actually draws the lines, do they actually offer that service as part of it?
The last one I spoke to, no, but possibly some of them might, yeah.
I think they might.
But you see, he was the one that we got 2 drawings. I don't even know whether we actually took on either of those 2, because they don't really look how it is at the moment.
Essentially what he's doing is using architect software to configure it accordingly.
Yeah, it's draw it out, so come up.
Yeah. Which, I mean, to my mind, we're going to clearly require anyway, regardless of actually putting any white lines on we've got to have a plan first.
Yeah, we need a plan, but I would have thought some of the companies that actually do the marking would mark it out, would have that. I mean, it's CAD software, it's pretty standard stuff in that field.
Yeah, I think your point is well made, and that is that
No, these are the.
we could well be paying more by going through an architect and then a white liner company, because the white liner kind of might know what they're doing and do this as part of the job.
So he's already got these drawings, because this was here, so he's already done the CAD work, he just needs to work out
He may well do this and say, no, I can't get any better configuration than that. That's what I was worried
But he's not freshly going out
But if
measuring.
we've got these drawings, do we need somebody to do?
We probably need to work out, reversing spaces and all that.
Yeah. Well,
Can I just comment that we have been down this road?
I know, I was going to say, because this is my point.
Already, we're just reinventing the
I
wheel.
was going to say, is this not, are these drawings not from 2019 when we had this done before? And this is where I'm getting confusing.
No, they're previous drawings. Nothing has been done to that car park since I've been here, and I've been here since 2016.
So, again, I'm partly going to, I am sorry that we're going round and round in circles and reinventing the wheel. We had a quote in 2019. That quote wasn't from the architect, presumably. That was from somebody.
Line marking people.
Line marking people. And they presumably, did they have a plan, or they were going to draw up a plan at the same time?
That was just like for like. We got quotes for the co-op, the East Road car park.
Oh, so it's purely going over what's currently there?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is, I think, a bit different, Val, because what we're talking about is actually trying to reconfigure.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, sorry.
We also had, at some point, that exercise done.
Oh,
It
right.
wasn't somebody who just went down the car park and thought, we'll have a space here and a space here.
So that has been done.
It was
Well, I think
done.
that must be that.
So that's what this is?
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's
can I just-
certainly not been done since I've been
That's
here.
different from that one.
Right.
And
can
because
we-
it takes into account these
You want to have a
little
look?
bits that we can't do anything about.
Yeah, one of the allowed.
And this is done by the same chap as that guy?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, so he will have the CAD folder on his system, which
So-
means creating.
So given that we have these, why is he asking for more money?
You asked me to go back to him
Yeah.
and ask if he'd redo it and give a different configuration.
Yeah, so that cost is probably lower than what it would be if he was going out.
Possibly, it still seems quite high though. I think.
Because, again, we are just going round in circles, because what we talked about literally a year ago is having a herringbone pattern, because we thought you'd get more cars in, because you don't The trouble is the way he's designed this, it means that you have to have the turning space in. That's the whole, this is actually a bad design. If anything, it's telling me there's last thing is that we want to do is compact in.
Fine, if we all agree it's a bad design, and not a car park design, I'm not in a position
Well,
to say.
but then clearly nor is he, you know, he's an architect.
Unless he tried the other one and it didn't work, because you've still got to reverse out properly and
Right.
turning circles. But
I'm gonna try and draw this to a conclusion. I think first of all, in answer to answer Liz's question, the white people who gave us a quote, white line people who gave us a quote 6 years ago, I think we need to understand whether they will just simply work to a plan or will they provide a plan.
Okay.
I think once we've got that question answered, yeah, good.
and if not, if there's another company that would do,
Yeah.
that specialise in
That specialise in
car
this.
park
Because
spaces.
this is clearly, he is not a specialist in
Yeah.
car
But
park
we don't
spaces.
know that he didn't
Yeah,
get a
but
specialist
I know,
to
we
do it,
don't know that, you're right.
which is what our memory
But
is.
let's first of all find out from the company
And then maybe
and then we'll move on.
in between, perhaps we could communicate, because if they do the drawing, perhaps
Yeah.
then we can try and push this
Mm.
on.
Okay, sorry, I've just got to unlock my computer now, which I have now done. So that's Drill Hall for the time being. East Road, again, we're talking about more white line painting. Clearly though, if we're going to have white lines done, do we not want them done by the same company roughly at the same time in order to save costs? So I think the priority is the Drill Hall, since we own that one. And once we sort out what's happening there, we get the same company to quote for East Road, is my
Well,
suggestion.
it's quite a nice package as well.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
excellent.
And then Co-op, I don't think there's anything there specifically, is there?
Oh, just to mention, your rally composite signs like these are now up in the Drill Hall and, the East Road car park. So you know, last time you asked for better quality signage because they were
Yeah.
rubbish. So
Okay.
we'll have a load of signage.
Yes, they could.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was-
Yeah, good. Super.
Sorry, the
Sorry, Bob.
new notice board at the Co-op car park scene, which looks good, but who's going to maintain what goes in that? Because I know there's been conversations about the one at the QVH.
We're saying Deborah
Yeah.
Rebecca will
Yeah.
manage it, yeah.
The mindful is, was it sort of half the size of the one at the QVH,
Yeah.
so you
Yeah.
have fewer things in
And
it.
yeah, on all of them, we're going to give some written down instructions to Deborah on what should go in there.
Right, okay.
Because the issues we're having is some people give us just an A5 leaflet, but then somebody will give us a one that folds out, and Deborah's been putting them on one side and the other side so that you get all of it. And we've said to her that it's not the leaflets, it's the small, sharp, snappy posters kind of thing. That's why it's getting too littered with stuff.
Okay, but good to hear there's some guidance, because that will resolve things. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. We're now on to agenda item 258, public toilets. Again, referring to the report, future ongoing considerations, pipe work and budget for new auto hand washer dryers in the ladies' toilets. Do we have quotes for any of that, or is that
No, it's not urgent.
not urgent?
I've just left it on there because it's something
So-
that's outstanding.
Okay,
Like we said last time, the ladies' hand dryer thing it was decided a while ago that while they don't look very nice, they're still functioning, so we're not going to replace the gentleman
Right.
has to be replaced.
so it's just on the radar?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Let's move on to then 259 other properties and open spaces. We are looking at the update. Rugby, nothing to report. That's rugby bowls and tennis clubs. Recreation ground.
there's nothing to report on that.
We've got we've got the circus there at the moment. They are indeed there. Got their signs up all around town as well. I don't think there's actually anything for us to talk about as far as the rec's concerned. What's happening so far with the play area improvements that we agreed, did we not? Have we got here a quote for the buckets sort? Did that not go to full council?
Yeah.
No, because when the quote came back, you agreed it.
Yeah.
With sort of, it was slightly over budget, but you agreed it. But then when she came back and I went to order it from her, she came back with additional cost on there. So £1,000 for installing it. So I went back to her and I said, could we not install it ourselves? It can't be that difficult.
Oh yes, I remember that.
Yeah, so we've shaved off 1,000, but it's still at the point where I said to Emma, can we jiggle this somehow? And she said no. So basically you've got to get drawdown from full council, which she doesn't see an issue with, but it just means that that additional cost needs to be approved.
So,
in reserves.
Again, this is just a bit like a storm going around in the valley. So we're going to now kick it back to full council again?
Yeah, well, I've not even put it on here, I've just put an update and Emma's going to just get it sorted on.
So nothing has changed apart from the fact it's now going back to full council.
Can I just clarify? So they're saying it would have cost £1,000 for the company to install. We're now saying we can install it ourselves.
Yeah.
How do we work on health and safety on that?
They've told us the regulations and they've sent us the attachments and told us what the height restrictions and everything are. So as long as we stick to what she says.
And their guarantee?
For the equipment?
Yeah, so will that still be covered if we do our own?
Yeah.
I'll check.
I think we need to ensure that we're not breaking guarantees by installing it ourselves, because otherwise, particularly if a kiddie gets injured, heaven forbid, £1,000 is a small price to pay
Okay.
for that
Well, if I find
indemnity.
that out before
I think absolutely,
And
what we've got to check is that that it's about where the liability lies.
Okay, so if she comes back and says you're.
My concern is that if we install it ourselves and something goes wrong, it's going to completely fall down on us, whereas they install it, it's their liability, not ours.
And this isn't the bucket swing, is this for the bucket? No, this is for the swing.
Yeah.
No, it's for the bucket.
It's the bucket seat.
It's the,
To install a
Yeah.
swing.
that's what.
Yeah. Well, that's why we challenged it in the first
I think
place.
maybe there must be another company that does the same bucket, a similar bucket swing.
They all charge equal amounts. This is the thing with having play areas, it's phenomenal cost.
So I wonder if it is because of the liability.
Yeah.
Indeed. And that's also why I'm actually a bit nervous about us installing it.
Got to do it.
When we discussed the playground as well, there were some other items, to your point, Swizzly things, the boards. At the time, I think we said we would have the budget to install some of those play boards and then think about drawing from reserves to add in additional items. Again, have we gone around in circles a little bit? Where are we on that?
Well, in terms of it's budget, everything's budget. So if you've only got £1,000 budget, it's all well and good. This is why I said last time we brought it to the table. Do you want to spend what we've got this year and next year and just fill it with some items to show that we're doing something, but on a very small scale, because as you can appreciate, £2,000 is not going to get very much. Or do you want to wait and do a bigger project? But that obviously has to be approved by full council and some serious money has to be drawn down from reserves.
I think there should be a conversation about that.
I do think
also, financially, it might be more cost effective to have 4 items put in.
Yeah, because you've got the people there already.
Yeah.
And then we've got the infrastructure in.
I think the other problem is that, again, this partly started because we had £5,000 in a youth activities budget. And we were hoping that that could be used for St. Christopher's, but it's been clarified that it can't. And that's the whole point. That we started this ball of St. Christopher's thinking that we had an extra £5,000 that we could expect, as we don't.
Well, I didn't realise we can't use that.
No.
Well, they can only be used on the wreck.
Yeah.
Who determines that usage? Do you understand where that comes from?
Can we challenge that?
Well, it's been like that for quite some time, so I'm assuming whoever the council were at the time, that's.
But it's simply a budget code, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, we
I
ascribe
think
these codes.
it's a budget code, and if it just said youth activities and then didn't specify the recreation ground, it wouldn't have been an issue. But it was like Emma looked at it and she said, no, it specifically says youth activities, recreation ground.
But my reading, that 5K budget code, 0 spent so far.
Yeah.
And so we seem
And it's just sitting there.
it's sitting there. I think we need to challenge that, to ask for
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Right.
Is that
So
something we could possibly do? Because it's
Finance.
let's get an agenda on for council,
Could that go to finance committee at the meeting
finance
next week?
committee.
At the meeting next week, finance, to challenge that?
Well, yeah, they will be.
So is it worth getting that
On finance.
finance to then go also on
Yeah, I think
main?
that's better course of action.
I also think if we can understand the rationale for some of these budget codes, there's probably other areas in the budget that are ascribed. We might want to be a bit more flexible around without having to draw them.
Am I the only person on the finance committee?
Yeah.
You're not. You're not. No, you're not. No. Okay. Because I won't be at finance committee next week.
Can we do a little bit of report? Who's to get them done?
Mike, that's my concern, and nor John Wade. That wonders whether they're even going to be quorate next week.
Did you say you're not?
I will not be, well, next week I'm on annual leave.
Right.
I'm on walking, so I'm going walking with John and Simon, which means that neither John nor I will be at finance committee.
So chances are there's not going to be a finance committee anyway then. So we'll have to go to.
Right.
Full council.
Yeah.
I think
It's better, I think.
full
Full
council,
council.
so full council.
Okay.
Although, I'm not sure I'm going to be at full council either, but you guys will.
We will.
And Ian will be back by then as well, I think.
I will be.
He's been pushing that
Let's try and do that.
thing.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
we
It'd
will,
be quite nice to have this sort of.
I think we've got to have that
So we can
unpicked.
actually show the local.
We've got to understand why that is rec only, and if it's just, yeah, anyway, let's not try and
Yeah,
preempt
well,
the discussion.
come up when we have the
Yeah,
discussion.
okay, let's move on. So other green spaces, this is all about decide on areas to leave for no mow May. And there is an email and a document about this. He says, trying to open them. Lisa, if you could possibly do the same. So there is a message from Ian, which is actually to do with May last year, which identifies, yeah, there it is on the screen, identifies areas that were meant to be left for the bee buffet, as he called it. I think all we're basically being asked is, do we modify this list primarily?
Well, we used, what did we do last time?
Sorry, there's a
Emma said we
document.
had out here and an area in the recreation ground where we don't, so these are two different things really. The bee buffet was where we were going to,
Yeah.
the safe areas that we know that we can put some wildflowers and put the bee buffet signs. So the
Yeah.
reason I've included those is because we know they're safe areas, they're not going to compromise any kind of safety on the road. So do we want to just stick to a couple of no-mow May areas? Some of these ones as well. Fletton House we can do because it's just this verge out the back here. But obviously once you make a commitment for the whole of May, it has to stay unmown.
Do we put little signs up
Well, what I thought we could do is use like the bee buffet,
Yeah.
do something similar, like no mow, this area's for no mow, yeah. But the reason I linked the two together is because we've already agreed these sites as being safe,
Yeah,
so it's good.
yeah, I mean, there's, again, I don't know if you've seen, there's an email from Emma to Lisa, I'll just read it out. Last year we left the area of Fletton House car park, and this year we'll be leaving the area in Blackpot Lane. So it may be we just leave those areas, as I don't think we can leave the recreation ground and other open spaces, and probably not the verges, as we need to make sure we are fulfilling the North Hants Highways contract. Certainly that's true of the verges, etc. There is also a message from Hilary, what's her name? Hoyle, thank you. And again, she's just pointing out, on behalf of the Arundel Nature Recovery Planning Group, could I ask if OTC has any plans to stop mowing in May, and they want to promote it accordingly. So that's really just about them taking up once we've made a decision. Again, is this something that needs to go to full council, or can we actually make a decision
No,
here?
we need to make a decision, because it's not massive,
So,
and there's no cost implication to it either,
I'm just going to go through. So St. Christopher's, so this is the list originally given us to, so I'm just laughing at it, from Ian. St. Christopher's Drive behind the playground, we're saying that, or are we just accepting these? So, sorry, what I'm trying to say is, so the town clerk is essentially just talking about two key areas, but I'm just wondering whether or not, so for example, Arundel Cemetery, are we not doing anything there? St. Peter's Churchyard, are we not doing anything there?
I think they do anyway in St. Peter's Church.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure as you walk through on the right
Yeah,
hand side.
precisely, that's normally the area, and what about St. Christopher's Drive?
Yeah, I think behind the play area would be quite a good area.
Yeah, so we're ticking that. I don't know what's Tony Robinson's bush is.
No.
Well, that's sort of
I
next
know
to,
where Tony Robbins is.
that's next to my house, because
That's why I was laughing at.
Yes, I know, so I chuckled when I saw the email as well.
Do you want to comment on Tony Robinson's bush?
I think it was left unpruned last year. Can I extricate myself?
Are you sure it wasn't a Brazilian?
So yeah, happy to leave that area untamed.
So we should leave it bee friendly this time. Yes. Cemetery, again, we've talked about that. Churchyard, we've talked about that. Rec behind the garage area, isn't that being developed now?
Not yet, but I think now we've got the trees planted in that little area down there, I think we should leave it well alone.
So that will be, okay.
Yeah.
Little triangle between King's, to the King's Road area. I'm not sure I understand which one that's, isn't that the?
Oh, that's where the land grab bit's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could leave that.
We could leave that.
Yeah.
Running alongside hedge to west near newly grassed area, that's still in the wreck.
The only other one that I thought I could probably approach, the Springfield Road Gardens, which is at the end of my road.
Right.
Because I know the chap that,
So if you could find out about that. Wentworth Drive, I don't know, again, the area there well enough. Area backing onto Eastleigh Fence.
I think we need to not do too many areas.
Yeah, I was going to say, let you explore Springfield Road, and then Fletton House again. We talked about the car park, and then also Blackpot Lane, the bit actually near where Hilary lives.
Yeah.
So that's it.
I think that's sufficient. Yeah.
I think that's more than sufficient, and it gives Hilary something to get her teeth into.
Yeah.
And so we're leaving most of the wreck untouched, apart from those little bits All happy with that?
And are there enough people face signs to go around all these?
Well, again, Hillary will clearly help promoting
We've
that.
got 10,
Yeah.
but we can always arrange some other signs.
Yeah. Okay, so we need to propose and second that?
Yes, please.
So I'm proposing what I just said. Yes,
Yes,
yeah, Val seconding, all in favour, thank you very much. Gosh, okay, I've forgotten where we are now on the agenda. I think we are down to Fletton Field, if I'm right.
Yep.
Fletton Field pathway. Now, this is quite urgent because it's we've got to agree on something before it gets opened, hopefully.
The 3 quotes were requested, 2
Yeah.
came in,
Yeah.
so these are the 2. I'm gonna have to sort out with Emma, getting it approved once you've decided who you want
Yeah,
before full council, because obviously if we wait till full council, it's only 3 weeks away from the opening, the 8th of May. And I don't know how busy these people are, so I need you to decide who you want out of these 2 contractors. And then I need to get Emma to somehow get it approved, whether that's talking to the mayor and one other person. I think she can actually do that if it's something that's urgent.
so what are the bottom lines on both this one?
So
I
this
can't
one
read
is
that there.
4,080 plus VAT. So
Yeah,
that's 4,896
so
to
5
do the
grand basically.
work, to do the work that how Tony suggested it, exactly to his plan.
Yeah,
And then this one is 4,200, no, this one's no VAT, they're not VAT registered.
so they're very similar in price.
Yeah, well, one's 4,900 and one's 4,200.
Yeah,
Doing the
but
same thing. Basically, the only time that there would be an additional cost is the soil that's being removed from the path. We think
Yeah.
would probably be fairly good soil because it's
Yeah.
been just
Yeah,
nothing's happened to it. So the spoil was going to be spread around
yeah,
peripherally, so it can be used for planting and other stuff. So
Yeah,
the only thing is if it's dug up and it's stony or it's not particularly good, then it might have to be removed.
so have we worked with either company before?
But yeah,
We've worked with both of them?
Yeah.
Do we have any feedback from quality of vision, etc.?
both are good, that's the reason and they're both local, so that's,
Yeah.
and I'm not being let down by them, so.
So you're happy to recommend either of them?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a bit confused about the fact there's no VAT on one. It just says that it's not registered for VAT.
Not registered for that.
Yeah, but surely we were still for VAT.
No, only if they're VAT registered, if they're big enough companies.
Oh, I see what you
Because
mean.
if their earnings are under a certain amount, they
Yeah,
don't.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. But that then does suggest that DC construction is a relatively small.
Yeah, they've
Concern.
seen the vans around there.
One man band,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who's the other company?
he's Lantec, is another local, he was Anvil based, I didn't realise he's moved, but only to Luton.
Okay, but he does more land, the other guy does construction, general construction as well, doesn't he?
Mm.
Which makes,
Anybody have a preference?
well, makes me feel if this, you know, it's lovely not to have that, but if this guy knows what he's doing land-wise, drainage, stuff like that, probably worth it better.
In terms of timelines, do we know they'll both be able to fulfil the work before the opening?
If we get it approved fairly quickly, yeah. But
Okay,
they
so
they
let's go
start getting
verbal.
busy this time of the year, don't they, with things, outdoor jobs and stuff like that, so,
But earlier they both said they could do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Val, do you have any preference?
any preference? I don't know though, so.
I don't know either of them, and therefore it's very difficult for me to make a choice. I kind of feel that Landtech is a safer bet because they're bigger and it's kind of more of what they do. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
I presume they come with some kind of guarantee that if it all lifts or if, you know, some of the drainage doesn't work, then we'll come back.
Yeah.
They'll hold them to account. But
Yeah.
Lisa might have a choice.
No. So,
the Lantec guy cleared the top of the cemetery for us, so he's done the most recent work.
right.
Fine, so.
The other one comes out and does quite a lot of stuff, has just done something at the QVH for us, taking that fireplace out. Landtech is a groundwork person.
That's my point. I think the land tech to me sounds more like a specialist. DC Construction is more, he'll turn his hand to a number of different things. I'm sure does it very well. And I'm quite sure there are other jobs that we would offer him in and around our estate. So my gut feeling is to go for the first of the two quotes.
That's my
Keen to
opinion.
Yeah, I think that's the general consensus. Okay. Do you need anything more on that now? We've got.
You proposed it, Max.
I proposed it. I think Rob seconded it, and we all agreed. So we've got to talk about removable parking posts. Now, this is again something that was recommended by one of the members of the Flettonfield Association TC kind of working party. His concern was that we should have not just a gate, but we should have something that has a height restriction. He was worried about camper vans coming onto the field. So we have this so I think we have it on the rec, for example. So he was worried about camper vans coming onto the field and us not then being able to get them off again.
Where would this be placed? I can't.
This is literally
the main
just,
entrance, vehicle entrance here.
there's only one vehicle entrance, which is down here.
Right.
But so he was talking about one where there was a height restriction and you can lift it off, obviously, if you need a fire engine or whatever on the field. But this is a slightly different solution, isn't it? This is just literally.
Yeah, I mean, this will stop anything you want going in there, and it doesn't look quite as ugly as one of those great big things that we see in car parks. So we think this is probably more.
I think this is probably a better solution, where it's essentially locked and you need a key. So we keep the key here.
Yeah.
And it's just simply because realistically, we need to control any vehicle going on there, not just a high vehicle.
Absolutely.
So people are happy with this solution.
Yes.
And even if we put a couple of them, so obviously we've got two.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's still going to be way cheaper than the higher.
Yeah, and it doesn't look so intrusive. It doesn't look so unwelcoming. I think.
Yeah, I agree.
And we can do that within budget. There's a separate budget, for Flettonfield. So we're all happy to recommend us going forward with something of this nature.
Consideration before we do. How often do little tractors, from the maintenance perspective, go up and down? Will it be annoying for them to have to continually?
No, because they like the key here, and if they know that they're there for the day doing some work and possibly. I saw Clive pottering around today, and he was just wheeling the water bowser down. But if he wanted to get on the ride-on mower, he'd just simply come in here and get the key. All of their equipment's here anyway, so it shouldn't be an issue. It'll come with multiple keys anyway, so if we give one to maintenance and maybe to Flettonfield Association, those key people that are looking after the field will have access.
I think it generally also sends a sign, this is not vehicle access.
Yeah. And it's made in Britain.
I mean, we can always flatten it
No, that's the whole
for a
point.
weekend or something.
Well, this one, the thing I like about this one is when it's removed, it's almost flat.
Yeah.
Because some of them just drop down, and I'm worried about a trip hazard because it's, if people are coming out from a festival or something of an evening, I don't want any kind of trip hazard, so that one just literally lies flush.
No, we like the idea. I think this will do the job. It'll prevent not just trailers going on, but other vehicles as well, and send a message. Okay, good. Again, do you need a recommendation? Sorry, I'm happy to propose it. Val's got a hand up. All agreed. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So the next thing is, sorry, just keeping up. Magnolia tree. I don't know where this has come from. We've been asked to approve costs to purchase a magnolia tree.
The last time I heard it was a silver birch.
Yeah, well, I don't know what's going on. So can anybody give us some background on this?
Clive came in to speak to me about it the other day, and he's consulted with a tree expert, somebody that the Fletton Field have been using and talking to. They did consider the silver birch, and that's still an option, but this person had suggested this very special, and I said to Clive, it has to be special for that amount, but apparently that's the going rate for specimen trees these days. It's a very special magnolia tree. He told me the name, but I said, I'll just call it a magnolia tree. And apparently it's absolutely spectacular. The chap, they're normally nearer £400, and because of what we're doing and what we're trying to achieve and have this special tree planted for VE days, said he will give it at a discounted cost of £325, including VAT and delivery, which apparently I've been told is a very good deal.
How big is it? Is it a decent size? So kids aren't going to come along, yeah.
I hope so. I don't want a little truck.
That's what I'm wondering, isn't it?
And I'll sell them my magnolia tree for 300 quid.
I can't find it in the, when I click on the link, it takes me,
It goes somewhere else.
it takes me back to something entirely different.
There's no link to it, it's just the information that Clive gave me.
Oh, okay, sorry, that's probably why I'm
He didn't give me
confused.
any kind of links.
So what are the costs? I'm not quite sure.
£325, including VAT. Apparently they're normally nearer 400, but he's given it a discounted price and he's included VAT and
Oh, right, I see it now in here. Right, my mistake, I was looking in the wrong place.
there you go.
What bothers me is I'm not quite sure where this has come from. I wasn't at the last Fletton Field Association OTC meeting. Was it agreed there? And if it wasn't agreed there, I'm not really sure it should be on our agenda.
Well, you've obviously been talking about it because Val knew about the silver birch.
Well, that's because I had an email
Yeah.
saying that I'd said that I'd got some silver birch, which would be, and I never had said it, so I don't quite know how that.
But you presumably have a meeting as a member of the FFA.
Here we are, here's the minutes that
I
Tony
wasn't
sent.
at the meeting. I just got an email from them
Right.
out of the blue saying they'd decided.
Yeah,
it
well,
was going
both
to be a
of
silver
us, so this is the problem. You were absent, I was absent. And it may well that it was discussed, Jerry is clearly the only councillor there. That's the previous minutes, that's to do a tree to be chosen by FFA and planting position to be proposed by FFA.
Yeah, that's what it says, isn't it?
And it says here,
Section 106.
has arranged for a commemorative tree in a pot to be obtained from Tandy.
Apparently, yeah, so apparently they did look in Tandy, but I don't think it's Tandy they're getting it from. I think they're somebody else.
I mean, presumably it won't be a pot.
No, it's got to be planted.
Because that would be a nightmare, wouldn't you, all from?
Okay, well, I can get some more information.
Well-
What I should have done is got Clive to prepare a report really, but because that doesn't really say that much.
I
If it's a section if it's section 106 funding, it says it's got to be the Oundle Town Council. Surely, yeah, depending on what it says, the section 106 should be used for.
I got the impression, I had very quick work,
Right.
and, you know, this sort of come as a surprise. And he said that they just wanted a tree, at least for the ceremony or a ceremony for the opening, to be there, and then maybe get something else later.
Right.
And it just slightly bothers me where it's just come from, because the minutes of the meeting, and admittedly I wasn't there, just says tree, or it just says tree to be chosen.
Yeah. So then,
So
when
this
did
is
they
this-
choose it?
Yeah, I'm worried that that group should, well, it's a bit difficult, I wasn't there.
Could they put a report together for full council?
Yeah,
Or they get
that's what I would
this
suggest,
timeline's quite
Yeah.
short, with maybe two alternatives or something.
I think so.
And reasons, rationale behind.
I think it really has to go to full council.
Because I said to Clive, I can offer you a decent oak sapling.
Well, and I'd also like
It's just to stand in.
I'd also like to know where it's going to go.
He said to me they were
Good.
thinking of whether to selling detached houses at back on Flettonfield. They said just in front of that.
But full council will want to know that level of information because magnolias can grow very large.
Yeah. And they're very messy, they're beautiful.
Well,
They don't last very long.
So, yeah, I must admit,
You knock down for that's it, they're done.
They are stunning, but
They are, yeah.
they're sort of here today and gone tomorrow.
Yeah, they are.
Right, so
Would
I'll
rather have a tree that's, if you like, there are special trees for Anvil from previous occupations like tanning.
Yeah,
So
magnolia
the
hardly
oak trees as an example.
magnolia are hardly a native tree.
It's
to
hardly
these
a
islands.
native tree to,
And they are very beautiful for about 2
Yeah.
seconds.
yeah.
But my garden is full of magnolia petals.
Oh, really?
From already, so just from a maintenance perspective, there's a lot of extra work picking it all up.
Yeah. And the petals go quite slimy, don't they?
Too.
So
you're one.
we're going to put it to full council
Yeah.
and see what plans they make. Okay, sorry. Right, we're now on to signage. Again, I don't know who was involved, but we had multiple emails and about 6 designs of those signs. They are not going to be changed now. Rebecca did some splendid work in producing these. What we're now being asked to do is to agree where they are going to go. I kind of thought we'd agreed this, that these are being designed for both entrance
Yeah,
points.
that's right, but apparently somebody suggested it go on the fence as you come in on the pedestrian footpath, which is not our fence, so we can't do that.
No,
So we have got some posts, some metal posts, so my suggestion is, yes, one is as you come into Flettonfield, probably just on the right as you turn into the field there, and then one next to one of the gates.
oh, I definitely put them on metal posts.
Yeah.
Because what we can also do is then potentially move them if we're not quite sure if they're in the right place.
Yeah.
So metal posts,
Yeah.
get on with it.
Okay.
Yes?
Yeah.
All happy?
What are the plans for the entranceway? I know there's conversations about school children designing it.
Yeah, but again, that's all part of this FFA OTC meeting. So Clive has been in touch with one of the schools. Again, it's not helped because I wasn't at the last meeting. If we look at the minutes, is it mentioned there at all? I don't think, doesn't look like it.
No.
Because we were hoping that they would have this archway entrance thing. Maybe you want to chase that with Clive and see where he is, because we are up against the clock somewhat, May the 8th. I've got to get a feeling it's never going to happen by May the 8th, if we haven't got designs at this stage.
I mention it because I know my daughter's been designing it her.
Oh, right, so she's been doing it.
And she said to me, is my design going to be on it, Daddy? So I don't know, I should ask. I also thought
We can't let them go through all this effort and then be disappointed.
Yeah,
but also with the
So-
timelines, it's clearly not going to work for the opening, is it?
So we really, if you could contact Clive and get a report,
Yeah.
maybe circulated by email, because, Easter, May the 8th, et cetera. Because somehow, again, I don't know what he's agreed is who is going to choose the plan. You
Is it going to be a
know,
competition?
well, it was meant to be a competition as far as I knew, but again, it's all a bit of a mystery. So I think if we could maybe find out, Lisa.
It's not going to be, it's not a permanent entrance, is it? It's just something that's for opening it.
Well, I
You're not going to
think
get a permanent entrance sorted between now and the 8th of May, are you?
I thought it was going to be made up.
I thought this competition was for a permanent entrance.
How my mind's working at the moment, if you remember in COVID, we got the children to design, things to say thank you to the NHS, and we got them printed on banners
Right,
that then went in key points around our, also at the co-op, various different places, and all of the children's ideas were on these banners. What I'm thinking is that's something that could be done fairly quickly, and if progress hasn't been made, at least that's something we could do, so the children aren't disappointed after all the efforts. We're not going to get something permanent between now and the 8th, there's no way.
well, I think it'd just be useful to understand what Clive has
Where they've
agreed
got
with
to, yeah.
the schools, etc., etc. So that'd be very
So we
helpful.
need a copy.
And I think we need to maybe circulate that by email because of the time scale.
When's the next,
We might need to make a decision or
the
recommend
next
something.
field meeting is at 2
Yeah.
weeks, you see, so if they've not made any headway with that by then.
Again, I'm not going to be at that meeting, nor is, and will you be there?
What day?
14th of April.
Monday, the 14th of April.
I don't know.
I'm still away then.
The banner idea could be a good fallback, I think, for the opening, for some
Yeah.
visibility, and then a future discussion about what the entrance will permanently look
Those
like.
designs
That's
can
a
be
Monday.
permanent.
Yeah, Monday.
I can be.
That's the flip, that'll be
What time is it?
6 o'clock.
6 p.m. Barnwell Room. This is the FFA OTC meeting.
Yeah.
I think it'd be really useful if you could be there.
Yes, I will be.
Thank you. Right, in which case then, I think we are ready to move on to matters which are other than Flettonfield. 24-25905, other OTC assets within the community. And I don't know, is there anything specific here that we need a decision on?
No, not until town events, I think.
I don't think so, is there?
No, it's the next thing you've got to do.
And then
Bunting.
ditto with War Memorial, ditto with Pollinator, yes?
Yeah,
Which means that then we're now up to trees update report. Trees,
there's nothing outstanding and nothing really to report.
no, there's nothing
Everything
there.
that had to be dealt with has been dealt with.
St. Peter's Church, I think that's the same. We're still obtaining quotes, so we're not.
I'm still waiting for Ian to come back with the recommended tarmac that our school use. And I've spoken to St. Peter's Church about going ahead with the essential repairs, and they're happy for us to just go ahead on that basis.
Right.
So that should be happening at some point.
Was there any more progress on the parking? That's stopped now.
I had a meeting with them, and he said it's the exception rather than the rule. He said they have had a couple of people that can't walk at the moment. I think one of the actual people that works there, so they've not been able to park. They usually park in the drill wall. So they basically said to me, it's something that has been happening a little bit more lately, but it won't. And they also said they will send out to all the people that work there and that are there regularly, that if they're able to, they shouldn't be parking there. So hopefully,
I think we just need to keep that under observation.
Do a walk through occasionally.
Yeah. So the cemetery, again, are there any?
no, nothing to
No,
report there.
Jones Strong.
Oh,
We've got the sprayer now,
sprayer now,
and
so
that will
hopefully happen soon.
hopefully go on to the spreadsheet that we looked at earlier on. Marketplace and markets. We've talked previously about provision of an electric hookup, and did we not agree that at full
Yeah,
council?
that's currently, we've got quote, and
Yeah.
again, we're just waiting around
So
to
that's-
come back with a formal agreement with us.
We,
Craig Arnold? No.
No, that's
School.
School,
Yeah.
yeah.
So Ian's last email was. it's
So that's just all in
approved.
progress, there's nothing for us to decide
We had
there.
a markets working group meeting
Yeah,
recently
so
and
that's
discussed
excellent.
various aspects, so that's all on track.
Excellent, that's really good news to hear. I think that will be something that we need to promote once it's all there, one of the things that we do. Town council events, discuss and approve early installation of bunting on the 1st of May, so it's in place for VE Day on the 8th. Approve costs of bunting installation and removal on the 1st of September, and there is bunting license PDF document.
Very interesting, I just think.
This is just purely the,
Well, it's fascinating.
this is just permission to do it.
Yeah.
Isn't this a no-brainer? I mean, we budget for it anyway, it's just simply bringing it forward.
And actually, the town looks so nice when
Yeah.
the bunting and the lights are up, it just lifts it.
So certainly I'm happy to propose it. I can't see
Perfect.
any reason why we should not do it.
Second, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good, fine. We've agreed that it doesn't have any budgetary implications because we would do it anyway.
Yeah.
Environmental and flood water issues. Again, I'm looking at that. It says nothing to report.
Nope.
Street lighting, it also says nothing to report. I'm just going to pause there. Have we sorted out what happened with Damford?
Yes,
Yes.
as in, well, it hasn't been sorted out officially, and I have to be careful what I say, but they are now working.
In which case then just
And the
let's,
electrics were always on.
so let's just say, fine, they're working, let's move on. So there's nothing for us to do there. Town CCTV, nothing to report, although it says here, to approve the cost of the recommended works following the recent preventative maintenance visit carried out on the town CCTV. And there again is a quote in our pack from CVL for £330. And this is pretty much essential work as far as I can see. This is not a kind of do we not do it. This is, it has to be done. The quote seems a reasonable quote. I see no reason why we shouldn't just approve this and get it done. Anybody wish to add any comments to that? Do we need a second quote? It seems quite reasonable for what they're doing to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And Matt,
so I'm happy to propose that. Rob seconding it, all in favour, thank you. So next item is to do with, we're now on 24269. Energy and EV charging points. I don't believe there are updates on either of those two things,
no,
unless you know something that I don't.
the solar installation is obviously moving forward.
Yeah, that will,
People just call
precisely.
certainly with EV charges, I think we've hit a brick wall again with that one.
Okay, in which case then we can now move to other general maintenance issues. Gutters and gutterings, obviously with Fletton House, we've agreed, courtesy of the full town council meeting, agreeing with the scaffolding and everything else. Is there anything else, Lisa? There's nothing on the Ainston?
No.
No. In which case, we're now on to any other business. I have promised some already. I don't know if you want me to kick off with that and then I'll go around the table.
Yeah.
So we've already initiated a discussion. I think all members of the committee, and I think Lisa equally struggles with it. we kind of have what I call 3 operational documents. We have the Open Spaces report, which is extremely useful. We have the agenda, but the agenda isn't a standalone document because we have to sometimes go back to this. And then we have this spreadsheet, which has a plan, an action plan moving forward, but again is clearly incomplete and has been produced for a different reason entirely. As I hinted earlier on, I think we need to think about unifying these 3 instruments. A, to help the effectiveness of this committee, B, to help Lisa in planning for this committee and keeping track on what's going on. My personal view, and I'm happy to sit down and work with Lisa to try and achieve this, is that we would be better actually doing away with the Open Spaces report in its current format and replacing it with a new version of the spreadsheet, which is much more task focused, so that we literally have a list of tasks under the various headings, Fletton House, Courthouse, etc., etc., etc. And so that we can then associate each one of those with a timeline and costs and what needs to happen to make it a reality, if you see what I mean. So that, and the agenda pretty much follows that, so that we're primarily just simply looking at, so that the spreadsheet becomes our master document. It's essentially a statement of what needs to be done to the estate. And the agenda is essentially referring to that, so that we make decisions on a timely basis when new quotes come in, etc., etc. I just think we need to simplify it somehow, and that's my proposal. But Rob, you've got your hand up.
I think simplification is really helpful. Mindful of the kind of discussions we have, we talk about the budget for certain parts of the estate.
Yeah.
We talk about general maintenance, which is on the other Excel sheet. And then we talk about the long-term plan, what we ideally would like to do with a 3 to 5 year plus term. Might we on that Excel sheet you propose have those elements listed?
Well, that's what I was in my head. I was wanting to capture all of those things, so that we have all of the information that we currently have here, but we have it in a more, shall we say, systematic way, so that we can see what budget has been allocated, and then obviously when quotes come in, we can adjust that. And so it then becomes a moving document, because obviously then the budget will change as work gets done. And part of it, the proof of the pudding will be in the eating. And what I was going to suggest is that we have an election on the 1st of May. If I am still a councillor, and if full council wishes me to carry on being chair of this committee, at that stage I would sit down with Lisa and essentially try and formulate a new way of working for the committee. That's kind of what I'm proposing. And it won't be, there won't be a sort of, it'll take us a couple of months to try and work it out. It's not going to be, there's not a kind of obvious ready solution. I think we'll try and propose a solution to you. We'll see how it works, and we'll just hopefully modify it, so that hopefully with the first quarter, by the time we move into the second quarter, we'll have something that we've got much more faith in terms of our ability to plan and monitor. So the point is that we're trying to do 2 things. We're trying to monitor what's happening as well as plan forward. And at the moment, we're kind of neither in one place nor the other, I think, and that's the problem.
I think, can I add something? I think the document needs to be a working document for yourself.
Yeah.
So that you can look at it and know exactly where you are, so you're not confused about what we've said. But I also think there is, at the moment, having been on the estates committee, there is a gap over what our general maintenance people do and when they do it and how they do it. And I kind of think we need to be a bit more, they need to be a bit more accountable so that we can know, when they are going up to do the car parks that are all overgrown full of rubbish, that needs to be put in some.
It needs to translate into a workflow, and this is the problem, because we make decisions here and say, okay, right, we want whatever, the hedge trimmed. We want Tony Robinson's bush trimmed. But that then doesn't translate into action. It needs to then go into that spreadsheet, which means that the maintenance people have got to do it in 6 weeks.
And we need to have that as a yearly kind of.
Well, and it helps Lisa,
so it will
because
help you.
one of the problems that Lisa has is that we make decisions, and then her trying to get it done is a different thing altogether. I just think we need to sit down and try and simplify it, Lisa.
I think we might need to involve Paul as well, because he's very good with Excel.
I'm sure that's.
And he'll probably come up with a good way. He might even know a formula that every time we put something in terms of what we spend, it automatically adjusts what budget we've got left. I don't know. He might not.
Well, I mean, I know how to do that in spreadsheets.
I'm not very good with Excel, unfortunately.
But that's what in a sense, this isn't a proposal because this is any other business. I just wanted to suggest that to you. At the end of the day, I'm not asking for a decision. Realistically, if I am chair, that's what I would like to do right at the beginning of a new council, to try and actually produce something that is better for Lisa to work with and stops us having to move backwards and forwards between documents. Even what we currently have, we've seen it today, where we then find it difficult to find a quote that relates to what it is that we're trying to talk about, and so on and so forth. We've got to make it more efficient and more streamlined.
It has slightly helped with being able to add the link to a document in the agenda, but that still doesn't cut down on all of the other descriptions stuff that I have to do, because I can't add a link that takes you to a great big chunk of, well, I could, but it'd just be completely littered with loads of blue highlights and stuff, so you'd just be, I agree, I much prefer it to be simplified, because if it confuses me and I'm dealing with it every day, and everybody else has got to know about it, really.
So that was my AOB. It's not a proposal because we don't do that in AOB. I just wanted to get some ideas. So right now, Liz, AOB, any issues?
No.
Rob, any issues you've raised the barbers and what have you?
Something else that was raised to me that is probably outside our jurisdiction, but is around parking and the speed of cars around Cotterstock Road and school pickup time. There's lots of ongoing discussions around that, and the zebra crossing had been repainted, but there was an incident recently where a car went into her and she was pushed into the side of her own car when she was picking up a child. So,
where is this? I missed
just outside Arnold Primary School on that main road coming from.
Okay.
That I think is a police issue.
And it has been raised to the various channels, including the school and what they can do. But I do recall the conversation that Ian had around that zebra crossing, so I just thought I'd mention it in case it was part of an ongoing discussion around it. And then also we have the traffic monitoring, so we have some element of at least oversight around traffic flows, but
jurisdiction, it's not really. But can we escalate it in any way? Is there?
I can report it to Declan, but I'd need the details, obviously. If
it may already have been reported as an incident.
It's an ongoing problem. It's always there hovering.
Is it a good idea? I mean, this is obviously definitely a police issue, but perhaps we could suggest that he goes into the school to talk to the children just about, because they're the ones that say to the parents, oh, you can't park there, or, you know, we really need to leave 5 minutes early, or let's park down the road and we'll walk in today a bit further.
Yeah.
Because when I worked in London, one of the primary schools, we did a big campaign about parking, driving, safety outside the school, and that was the best thing that, because the children then say to the parents, we need to leave 5 minutes early so we can park down the road. And then we're walking. It was quite interesting.
And it may well be that some of these conversations are already happening, but because of the kind of disjointed nature of various organisations and jurisdictions, it's difficult to understand what is being done. I'm merely able to raise it because, of course, we see on the full council meeting every month the traffic calming measures. I just wonder how we're tying that into any tangible outputs, because we see the traffic reports, but we don't do anything with it, and what can we do with it? So it's.
I mean, if I get any reports like that, I do immediately report them to Declan. But yeah, I think it's maybe something you want to ask to go on full council to see if there's a way you can improve the communication between the parties.
I think if anywhere, that's where we escalate it to, isn't it? So maybe there's a recommendation that basically I think you just email the town clerk and ask it to be put on the council agenda.
I mean, because that is a very serious incident, how you just described it, Rob. It's not exactly parking.
No, it's very dangerous incidents. And I know that conversations have taken place with various parties, but I think it's just understanding where and if we fit in any part of that conversation. And if we don't, making it clear to residents where
just because we've had a conversation before doesn't mean it shouldn't go have a conversation again.
Absolutely.
So anything else, Rob?
No.
No.
In which case, at 7:45, the meeting is closed. Thank you very much.